3 days ago, my wife came home from work, completely shaken up, packed an overnight bag in a hurry, and left. I only found out because our eldest daughter saw it happen. She tried talking to her mother, but my wife was too distraught to say a word, just crying, panicking. Since then, she hasn't answered a single call or message. I reached out to her parents, and after hours of silence, they finally responded, saying she was fine and asking us to be patient and understanding. That's all they gave me. I called her brother, her sister, even a close friend from work. Her brother knew nothing. Her coworker said my wife had been at work that morning but disappeared by lunchtime. That was 3 days ago. Now I'm here, alone with our 3 daughters, trying to keep everything together while their mother is just gone. They keep asking where she is, what happened, why she left. And all I can do is tell them she's with their grandparents, and we have to wait. But wait for what? Sitting here in the dark, not knowing, is unbearable. Part of me wants to just pack the kids into the car and drive the 3 hours to her parents' house, no warning, no permission. But what if they don't let me in? What if she refuses to see us? My daughters are scared, thinking we had some huge fight and are getting divorced. But that's not even close to the truth. We never fight. They know that. Nothing about this makes sense. If someone had died, wouldn't I, her husband, be the first person she told? If she was dealing with some buried trauma, wouldn't she come to me? I have no answers. Nothing. Just silence. And I have no idea what to do. Then, the truth hit me like a sledgehammer. I contacted the police to do a welfare check, and that set off a whole new mess. But in the end, I got my answer. She had been having an affair for at least 2 years, probably longer. And the other guy? He had a heart attack and died the same night she ran. Her mother and sister knew. They covered for her. And now she won't even face me. Won't talk to me. Won't talk to our daughters. I've been trying to shield them from this, but I don't know how much longer I can keep it together. I haven't slept in days. At night, when the chaos of the day fades, my brain won't shut up. I go from crushing sadness to pure rage, sometimes both at once. I thought this had been going on for 2 years, but the more I dig, the more I realize this started way before that. She knew him for years. And now I'm piecing it all together with my eldest daughter's help. I never planned to keep posting about this, but the messages and advice I've gotten have been keeping me sane. It's devastating to know so many people have been through this same pain. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I've met with 2 lawyers. I've reached out to therapists, but wait lists are long around here. I've been told to avoid alcohol, not a problem, never drank anyway. I've been told to take care of myself, to keep working out, but I have no energy left for that. I know people will ask for details, who, when, how long, but I can't do that right now. Every day feels like another bomb going off. And I just need one thing. How the hell do I start sleeping again? My wife was everything to me, my best friend since high school, the mother of my 3 amazing daughters. We had our own jokes, secret handshakes, little traditions. And now, all of it is gone. Just vanished. I replay our years together over and over in my head, every important moment, every laugh. And now, instead of bringing me joy, those memories drag me into a pit of despair. It paralyzes me, like none of it ever meant anything to her. And now, my future is without her. Then, of course, come the thoughts, how could you? And that's when the rage takes over. I scream into a pillow, punch the mattress until my arms cramp up. Then the cycle starts over. It's hell. I only pass out from sheer exhaustion, but then I wake up, and my mind starts racing all over again. The little energy I have left goes into taking care of my daughters, who now try to take care of me like they're the parents. That's not fair to them. How do you sleep after finding out about an affair? How do you handle the silence and emptiness at night, alone with your thoughts? I decided that, aside from taking care of my girls, sleep has to be my #1 priority right now. But I just can't. So here I am, hoping someone can tell me how to fix this. Update: the unexpected visit. It's been a little over a week since D-Day. In that time, I've learned that my wife's affair lasted over 4 years. I still don't have the full timeline, but it's clear it started as an emotional affair before turning physical. I wonder how the pandemic and lockdowns played into it, but those are questions I may never get answers to. Yesterday, her parents showed up unannounced. Supposedly, they wanted to see the kids. My wife has been staying with them since this nightmare began. But of course, that was bullshit. They spent maybe 15 minutes with my daughters before asking to talk to me alone. It was a long conversation, as you can imagine. I won't go into every detail, but here's the short version. My wife wants to come home. But she's terrified of facing me, facing what she did. Her parents, meanwhile, were fishing for information, trying to find out if I was planning to divorce her. And they spent a lot of time trying to convince me to forgive her and work things out. It was obvious they were ashamed of her actions. But it was just as obvious that they wanted her out of their house as soon as possible. The conversation stayed civil, and I'll admit, I lied. I told them I wasn't sure what my plans were yet. But the truth is, I know I want a divorce. I just didn't say it out loud. Not yet. Because if I do, I'll never hear the full story from her. And I need her to tell me the truth. 17 years of marriage. A relationship that started in high school. 3 kids. Countless memories. Everything we built together. I want her to look me in the eyes and explain everything. I also want my daughters to see that I gave her the chance to explain herself. That I gave her an opportunity to apologize. That I tried to handle this like an adult. I don't know if I'm making the right call. Maybe I'm making a mistake. Legally, I can't stop her from coming home. My lawyer made that clear. If she decides to move back in, I can't prevent it. And honestly, right now, I don't want her here. My daughters and I are adjusting to this new normal. So, I set one condition, one I figured would be difficult for her to meet anytime soon. I told them she can come back only if she sits down with me, looks me in the eyes, and tells me everything about her affair. Start to finish. No lies, no dodging questions. And after that, she has to sit down with our daughters, apologize to them in person, and answer their questions. That seemed fair to me. They already know the truth. To be clear, she doesn't have to meet these conditions. She could walk in the door tomorrow if she wanted to. But if she's too afraid to face us, maybe I can use that to my advantage. Maybe I can delay this. Is that wrong? I'm not trying to be manipulative. I just don't want to start living under the same roof again. Not yet. In my state, there's a mandatory 90-day waiting period before a divorce is finalized. So, I have time. Her moving back in is inevitable. We both have jobs to return to. Life goes on, even in the middle of this disaster. I just want to buy myself time to figure things out, to get my mind right. She's been texting our daughters, telling them she doesn't want a divorce, apologizing over and over. They've shown me the messages. Every day, she asks about me. And lately, it seems like the weight of what she's done is finally sinking in. How do I handle this? Was my condition stupid? It feels like her return home is coming faster than I expected. I knew this was inevitable. I just want to make the right decision. First for my daughters. Then for myself. Yesterday, my wife finally came home. All week, I had been mentally preparing for this moment. In the past, whenever she walked through the door, I'd greet her with a kiss and a hug. But this time, the air between us was thick with awkwardness, tension so heavy it was suffocating. She stepped toward me, arms reaching for an embrace before she even said a word. I turned away, like nothing had happened. Once she got settled in, I asked her, again, to tell me everything. That was the only condition I set for her return. I had made that clear multiple times. But just like before, she said she wasn't ready. I could feel my hands clenching into fists. I breathed in deep, forcing myself to stay calm. But after a long, painful silence, I lost it. I snapped. I told her exactly what I knew, how she had been cheating for over 4 years, how she had planned to leave her family for this guy, how she vanished for almost 3 weeks and still wouldn't even give me the bare minimum of an explanation. And then I told her what I wanted, a divorce. That's when things got weird. Her body language, her face, everything about her reaction made it clear that she hadn't expected me to know so much. Her eyes went wide, and then she just froze. She stood there in the kitchen, staring at the floor, not saying a damn word. I had prepared myself for anything. Tears, screaming, deflection, gaslighting, blame-shifting, some fake heartfelt confession, a serious sit-down conversation. But this? Nothing? For 5 straight minutes, we stood there in silence. The most bizarre 5 minutes of my life. I had read every piece of advice, rehearsed responses, written down notes. I even practiced in front of a mirror. But nothing could have prepared me for this, absolute nothingness. So, I did something stupid. I laid it all out. Everything I knew. Every detail I had pieced together, how she met him, how her sister was involved, what happened during lockdowns. And still, she didn't move. I kept talking, and my anger built. I wanted her to say something. Anything. But she just kept staring at the floor, like she wasn't even in the room with me. And then, the rage gave way to something worse, grief. I finally asked her, quietly, what did I do to push you away? Did she ever love me? Was this guy worth destroying our family? Nothing. Not a single word. No tears. No excuses. No anger. No explanations. Nothing. And somehow, that hurt even more than the day I first found out. I just stood there, staring at her, frozen. And then, things got even worse. Our daughters had been listening to the entire conversation. I was so focused on confronting my wife that I forgot about the people who actually mattered. I had been so careful these past few weeks to shield them from this mess, but I lost control and didn't think about where they were. Our eldest daughter came downstairs and lost it, yelling, sobbing, demanding answers that my wife wouldn't give me, let alone her. My wife ran upstairs and locked herself in the bedroom. I heard her crying all night. Only our youngest daughter spoke to her today. The others are avoiding her completely. If I can find the strength, I'm going to ask her to stay with her sister until the divorce is finalized. Legally, it's still her house too, but living together like this is unbearable. I was wrong about her. And you were all right. I was wrong about everything. I spent 17 years believing this woman had a conscience. I was so sure she would break down, beg for forgiveness, pour out the whole truth just to ease her guilt. This is the same woman who once drove back to a farmer's market because they gave her an extra $10 in change. But somehow, we weren't worth that level of honesty. I wasn't worth it. Maybe I never was. Now, the house feels unbearable. We've been trying to continue life as usual, but it's impossible. I just want to fast forward through this. Through the divorce. Through the fights, the legal mess, the painful conversations. Through all the drama. For those of you who have had to live with a cheating spouse before the divorce, how the hell did you survive it? Especially with kids? I know this is just the beginning. I keep reading stories from people who say it gets better. But right now, I can't see that future. There's not a single moment where I don't feel like screaming or breaking down completely. I'm trying so hard to stay stable for my daughters, but I don't know how I'm supposed to do this for 3 more months. Tonight, I broke. I've been in a terrible place ever since my wife came back home. Since I learned about the affair, I've tried so damn hard to hold it together for my daughters, to say the right things, to think the right thoughts. But tonight, I lost it. The divorce paperwork has been filed, but my wife still hasn't hired a lawyer. I've been patient, careful, hoping we could do this peacefully, without a fight. But after tonight, I don't know anymore. For the past few weeks, we've been avoiding each other. She stays with her sister on weekends, coming back Sunday nights for work. It became our routine, me and the girls living our lives, while she mostly kept to herself. Evenings were tense but manageable, and she barely spoke to anyone except our youngest. But tonight was different. I got home from work expecting her to be gone already, like usual. But she waited for me. She was standing in the kitchen. I tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my hand softly and asked, "Are you really going to treat me like this? Just because I'm not ready to talk about the affair?" And just like that, the rage inside me boiled over. For the first time in a month, she actually acknowledged the affair. I swear, I tried to walk away. I tried. But my daughters weren't home, and everything I'd been holding in came pouring out. I unloaded on her. Every wound, every betrayal, every moment of suffering, it all exploded out of me. I have no idea how long I talked. I lost track of time. I raised my voice. I yelled. I cried. I told her everything. I told her how broken I am. How much agony I wake up in every single day. How every time I look at our daughters, I feel like I failed them. I let it all out. And I hated myself for it. I knew this would happen. I knew she would eventually push me past my breaking point. And yet, I let her do it anyway. I played right into it. I lost control. And I hate that she still has that power over me. But then, something unexpected happened. For the first time since this nightmare started, my wife broke down too. She sobbed. Not quiet crying. Not a few tears. She completely fell apart. And I hate to admit this, but it gave me some kind of sick satisfaction to see her in pain. To see her suffer like I have. I wish I didn't care anymore. I wish I could be indifferent. But a part of me felt relieved. She kept apologizing over and over, ugly crying so hard she could barely breathe. But it was too late for apologies. I didn't want to hear it. I walked out of the kitchen before she could say anything else and told her to leave me alone. She stayed downstairs for a while, then packed a bag and left for her sister's house. 30 minutes later, my daughters came home. They immediately knew something had happened. I couldn't hide it. I didn't tell them what went down. I won't. They've already been through enough. My younger daughters are finally starting to feel okay again. I refuse to drag them back into this. And my eldest? If I told her what happened, it would just fuel her anger toward her mother even more. And I don't want that. I hate all of this. I should have kept my damn mouth shut. Should have just ignored her and walked away. But looking back, maybe she wanted to talk about the affair. Maybe she was trying to start a conversation but didn't know how. And I shut it down before she could even begin. Now, I'm starting to worry about her. I know most of you will criticize me for this. I know she deserves whatever pain she's feeling. But she's still a human being. And she's still the mother of my children. She's been completely isolated since this all came out. Everyone has turned their back on her. And yeah, maybe that's what she deserves. But part of me is genuinely afraid she might do something drastic. I hate myself for even caring. I feel like I took 10 steps backward tonight. I called my brother and vented to him too. Just needed to say this out loud. I'm going to try and reset on Monday. I'm only human. And as much as I regret tonight, I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good to finally let all of it out. But now, the guilt is eating me alive. Should I text her? Or should I just let it be? My mind is a mess. But thank you for listening. And thank you for the support. I don't know what I'd do without it. This week has been brutal. I know a lot of you have tried to support me, and I truly appreciate it. But most of you are right. Things are only getting worse. I wanted to take a break, to clear my head. But instead, this week completely broke me. My wife has been relentless. She's been overly sweet, apologizing nonstop, crying, hovering around me like she's desperate for forgiveness. Every night, she's knocked on my door, begging to talk. I ignored her when I could. But sometimes, when I was in the right mood, I let her speak. By Wednesday night, I'd had enough. I told her to leave me the hell alone. And then, last night happened. It's been just over a month since she came home, since her affair was exposed. And now, we've settled into this miserable routine of forced coexistence. But last night was different. After the girls went to bed, she came into my room and asked to talk privately. There was something in her voice, something different from all the other times. I resisted at first, but eventually, I agreed. We went to the garage, sat in my car. No interruptions. No eavesdropping. And then, she told me everything. We sat there for 3 hours. I haven't slept. Not even a little. I listened to her cry for hours. And I cried, too. Then I got angry. Then I held it in. Then I got angry again. Then I cried again. And now, I'm here, trying to make sense of it all. Her sister introduced her to her affair partner 5 years ago. Before COVID. She insists there was no romantic intent. He was just a high-ranking executive at a company she wanted to work for. And now, she does. She claims her desire for a career change wasn't because of him. But after she got the job, he became her reason to stay. It started with texts, then photos. And long before COVID, it became physical. She confessed everything to her sister early on. She almost confessed to me back then, but decided to bury the secret instead. Eventually, she cut contact with him. For a while. Then, lockdowns ended. And the moment they were back in the office, he reached out again. And she went back. She claims she tried to end it multiple times out of guilt. But she always caved. So really? It never stopped. She answered every question. Read off every excuse, every lie she ever told. The fake weekends with our daughters. The fake work trips. The fake family emergencies. The fake traffic, the fake shopping trips, the fake nights out with friends. Everything I had ever believed? Gone. And I sat there like an idiot, trusting her through all of it. Hearing her say it out loud made everything so much worse. I thought knowing the truth would bring me closure. It didn't. But the worst part? Her feelings for him were real. She fell in love with him. She wanted to be with him. He was older. Divorced. Single. He promised her gifts, vacations, a carefree life. She started fantasizing about escaping us. About running away from family life. She was completely, fully invested in her affair. Not just the sex. The idea of him. And then, midway through her confession, I broke. I cried. It was too much. Then, the inevitable happened. She told me she still loves me. That she always has. That she's willing to do anything to fix our marriage. A lot of you predicted this. And just like you warned, it felt fake as hell. Like she had practiced saying it. I've known this woman for more than half my life. I can always tell when she's lying. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she meant it. But at this point, does it even matter? This time, I kept my anger in check. I didn't lose control like last week. But I still let some things slip. I told her that her affair partner had other women. That she was just one of many. That he wasn't going to leave his life behind for her. And that got to her. That was the first thing I said all night that actually hit her. I don't know where I go from here. I know the obvious answer, divorce, move on, heal. But I feel so lost. She finally told me the truth. But all it did was hurt more. I have to be strong. For my daughters. But right now, I feel like I'll never be okay again. A million thoughts ran through my head. All the things I could have said. The words I should have thrown at her to make her hurt the way I hurt. 100 different ways I could have responded. Things I didn't think of in the moment. But there was one question I couldn't leave unasked. If your affair partner was still alive, and you had to choose between him and me, who would you have picked? She hesitated. Mumbled, that's not fair. I pushed. And eventually, she said it. Of course, I would have picked you. My answer was immediate. That hesitation right there? That's why I want a divorce. Because you're still lying. She broke down again, sobbing. And that was the end of it. We sat in silence for a while, her crying, me empty. I was too exhausted to feel anything anymore. Eventually, I just told her straight, we're getting divorced. We need to be civil for the girls. We need to be good parents. We need to be present for them. And then, I told her something I hoped she would understand. After everything you've done to me, I can only hope you'll at least be decent enough to make this divorce fair and peaceful. She swore again that she really did love me. I didn't argue. I just leaned in, kissed her on the forehead, and told her the last thing I ever wanted to say to her. I would have loved you forever. Then, I walked inside. And that was it. I didn't sleep last night. I won't sleep tonight. But at least now, she can't contest the divorce. That part is done. I haven't called my lawyer yet. I don't even know what comes next. I've just been sitting here, feeling like I'm drowning in waves of anger and depression. Hearing everything she said last night was pure torture. And honestly, maybe I was better off not knowing. Maybe she lied about some of it. Maybe she made things up. Who knows? But everything she said matched perfectly with what I've spent the past month piecing together. So that's it. That's where we are. It feels never-ending. Some days, I feel stronger. I start to think I can move forward. And then, something happens. And it's like I'm right back in the middle of it again. It feels like months have passed. But in reality, it's only been days. I'll try to sleep. Imagine this. The love of your life, the only woman you've ever loved, the only woman you've ever kissed, tells you she cheated on you for over 4 years. Not because she stopped loving you. Not because your marriage had problems. Not because you grew apart. Not because of a lack of intimacy. Just because she was bored. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Thank you for listening. Update 7. It takes everything I have just to get out of bed in the morning. The house is so quiet. The reality of these past few months is finally hitting me. I feel like Andy Dufresne in The Shawshank Redemption, standing in the middle of a storm, waiting for it to pass. I know it's just a movie, but that's exactly what my life feels like right now. No joy, no hope, just an empty crater where my soul used to be. I've tried so hard to put on a strong face for my daughters. Through the painful first weeks, through the nightmare of living under the same roof, through the gut-wrenching conversations, and now, through her being gone. And I can't pretend anymore. I barely have the strength to get out of bed in the morning. But I do, because I have to. For them. I keep replaying our last conversation in my head. Like some horrible movie I can't stop watching. Regretting every word. Wishing I had said something else. Anything else. The last thing I told her was, I love you. I always will. But I never want to see you again. I was hurt, vulnerable, just tired of the same conversation, the same empty apologies. And now, it's like life played a sick joke on me, because my daughters may have to live without their mother forever. But they seem okay. My eldest keeps looking after me. She makes sure I eat. Watches movies with me on weekends. I don't think she realizes how much that means to me. The younger two are slowly getting back to normal. School. Sports. Friends. That makes me happy. Even if I don't feel like I'll ever be okay again. First off, I just want to say, I hear you. And I know you feel like you're drowning right now, like you're at the absolute bottom, and there's no way out of this. But you're not alone. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how much faith you have, or how good of a person you've been. Pain like this doesn't follow any rules. It doesn't care about fairness. It just hits. And it doesn't stop. I won't throw cliches at you about time healing all wounds. I won't tell you to stay strong or look on the bright side. Because when you're at the bottom, none of that means anything. So let's talk about how to survive the bottom. 1. Focus on the next hour, not the next year. Right now, the idea of moving on, or starting over probably feels like an impossible task. That's because it is. You don't have to think about the next year, or the next month, or even the next week. You just have to get through the next hour. What can you do right now, just in this moment, to make things even 1% easier? That's it. One step, then another. That's all. 2. Let yourself be angry, but don't let it consume you. Your rage is real. It's justified. You don't have to pretend to be above it. Scream into a pillow. Go to the gym and hit a punching bag. Blast music in your car and yell along to it. Write out everything you want to say to her, then burn the paper. But don't let it consume you. If anger is all you have, it'll poison you. And she's already taken enough from you. Don't let her take your future. 2. 3. Accept that closure might never come. You want answers. You want justice. You want things to make sense. But the truth is, you might never get that. She lied to you for years. The woman you loved, the only woman you ever loved, shattered everything you thought was real. And there is nothing you can say, nothing she can say, that will ever fully explain why. Some betrayals just don't make sense. And that's the hardest part to accept. But at some point, you have to let go of the idea that knowing more will make it hurt less. 4. Find one thing that still brings you peace. I know faith has been difficult for you lately. And I get it. When you're in the middle of suffering, it's hard to hold on to belief. But don't let her take that from you, too. If reading Job isn't helping, step away from it for now. Go to Psalms. Or Ecclesiastes. Or don't read at all. Just sit with your thoughts and let yourself be honest with God about your anger, your sadness, your confusion. Or maybe it's not faith that gives you peace. Maybe it's a quiet walk. Or music. Or writing. Or just sitting in silence. Find one thing that makes life feel even slightly less unbearable. And hold on to it. 5. Your daughters need you, but you need yourself, too. You're doing everything right for them. You're showing up. You're taking care of them. And even though you feel like you're falling apart, they see you try. But they also need a father who isn't just surviving. I know therapy feels pointless right now. I know it doesn't feel like it's working. But keep going. Even if it's just for them. Even if it's just to get through the next session. You don't have to fix everything right now. You just have to not give up. 6. You won't feel like this forever. I know it doesn't feel that way. I know it feels like you'll be trapped in this nightmare forever. But that's the lie that grief tells us. This pain? It's not who you are. It's just where you are. And one day, maybe not soon, but one day, you will wake up, and the weight won't be quite as heavy. Not gone, but lighter. And that's how you'll know you survived. You are not weak for feeling this. You are not broken beyond repair. You are just a man who loved deeply and was betrayed deeply. And that kind of wound takes time. But you're still here. You're still fighting, even when it feels impossible. And that means you've already won more than you realize.